guys, welcome back. So today we're going to delve into a little bit lighter topic than we've been discussing the last couple of weeks, and that's planting and growing your own garden. I think that a lot of the things we've been talking about is how to source healthy food without busting our budgets, right? It's so important that we eat things that are organic, I'll put that in quotes, and non-GMO, and we have all these phrases. One of the best guarantees of that is just to grow it yourself. You know exactly how it was taken care of if you do it yourself. So even if you're a seasoned gardener or a novice, a lot of these tips will be very helpful to you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but we have a winter storm warning where I live, so maybe talking about gardening seems a little premature, but it's so important for you to get a plan of how you're going to map out what needs to be planted, when it needs to be planted ahead of time, as well as ordering your seeds in order to make the most of your time that you want to spend in your garden. So I'm going to give you guys 5 tips today that are crucial. So we've been doing gardening my whole life. I grew up doing gardening and canning in my home as a child. And even until the last 2 years of my marriage, we always had a pretty good sized garden where we raised a lot of vegetables and then canned and preserved them to have for the winter. So I feel like I have quite a bit of experience in this area after I sat and thought about it. It's something that I've always just done automatically, but after I thought about it, there is a process. There's a way I think about things. And I talked to my husband, who's really smart in this stuff, and he helped me fill in some blanks with some tips. So number 1 is to know what planting zone you live in. Your planting zone, it's divided, the country's divided out into zones, and by knowing that helps you get an idea of things that you can raise or not in the area that you live. And a lot of that is based on like your frost, the depth of frost line in the soil, and the temperatures in your area, and how early the spring season comes for you and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are taken into account there. And so it's very helpful for you to know ahead of time what your zone is. Number 2 is to look at the seed. How long does it take your seed to mature? From the time you plant that seed until you actually harvest the fruit or vegetable, how long is that? So why does that matter? Well, let's just give you an example. For us, we have a short spring, which means if we plant crops like broccoli and cauliflower that do thrive more in a cooler climate, we're not going to have time to plant those and get them to maturity before the heat kicks in, and either it kills them or they never get to full maturity. We call it bolting, where they just go back to seed before they ever actually produce fruit. So anyway, you just need to know things like that. So it helps you plan out. For us, we have to either plant those crops a lot earlier than what is suggested, maybe in a greenhouse type setting so that they get a chance to get started, or we just have to skip those crops and know that we're not going to have time to plant those. So it's expensive to buy these plants, especially if you buy the ones that are already kind of started for you. If you're not starting your own seeds, that's a pretty costly investment. So you just don't want to invest in things that you're not ever going to harvest. So this is a very important thing to know. It also helps you know, like corn, let's say, if it's going to take us 160 days from the time we plant the seed to get a fully mature ear of corn, when do I need to plant that so that I make sure I have time for that to happen before winter comes? So it's just really important in planning when you're going to plant things in the ground and things like that, to know how long that maturity time takes. Number 3 is you want to know the temperature that is needed for that seed to germinate. So that kind of goes with number 2, but here's the problem. You have a great plan, but if you have to have 78-degree weather for the seed to actually germinate and start to form a plant, it doesn't do you any good to plant that in March maybe where you live, because it's going to be 6 weeks before that happens. So oftentimes if you plant too early, your seed will either rot in the ground, or birds get it, something happens to it before it has a chance to develop. So again, you've wasted money and time that you invested. If you know this temperature, then you have a better idea of when it's safe to get that seed planted for it to have the best opportunity to mature. This is a huge piece of advice. If you don't order things in advance, like now is the time to be looking at ordering your seeds, then you're going to miss out on things that sell out. And we have that happen a lot. We will right now plan out what we're going to plant even this fall and go ahead and order those seeds, because if we wait, those seeds may not be available to us. Especially if, like me, you're really interested in the non-GMO heirloom seeds. Those do sell out, and it depends on how big of a crop they had from last year, how many are available to be sold from the beginning. So super important to get on top of that right away, get you a plan, and then go ahead and order your seeds. You can keep them in your freezer or in a cool area. You want to keep them cool, and they'll do fine until you're ready to plant them. Finally, get your calendar out. I often will have on my schedule time blocked when I know that we're going to be ready to plant a lot of things in the garden, because here our growing season starts fairly early, so we're going to plant a lot of things at one time. It may take us a half to a full day on a Saturday to get everything planted that we're wanting to raise for that year. So get it marked out on your calendar so you don't forget that you need to start these seeds a month before everything else in order for them to have the full growing season, whatever. It's just really important that you have that plan written out. It'll save you time, and it'll also keep you from being, you know, like midway through the growing season and finding your seeds that you forgot to plant, and now it's too late. So if you'll just kind of incorporate these 5 things into your plan for gardening, I think that you're going to find that it'll be a lot more successful for you. And if you're a novice, this will give you a place to start, like what's really important to know and to research. The last thing I wanted to mention was seed catalog recommendations. So of course you can order online. My husband has ordered from a couple of places routinely, so we get a catalog every year, and one is Seed Savers, and then the other is Baker's Creek. And both of these are really good sources of heirloom non-GMO seeds. Now, we often will shop for things in our local area, and there's a lot of onion sets and things, plants that we're going to buy to plant. We just buy those locally. But if you're looking for certain types of seeds, sometimes those may be hard to find in your area. And I don't know, in your area, but the last couple of years, everything has sold out really quickly where I live. It's just important to get ahead of the game, and those are some good resources for you to take a look at. If you have any questions, just feel free to post those, or if you have any helpful comments that might help the audience, that would be great. Just feel free to link those below. I'm going to be going in a little different direction now. Maybe we're talking about maybe some lighter topics and things that'll actually help you on this journey. And I do want to encourage you to check out my vlog. I'm giving you updates each week about where I'm at with the elimination diet. I'm about to wind that up. So if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a like and subscribe. Okay guys, I'll see you next time.